He was just one man, but for the Soviet army he was a nightmare. In the bitter winter of 1939, deep in the forests of Finland, a lone sniper would delay an entire Soviet offensive. His name was Simo Häyhä, known to his enemies as the White Death. Born on December 17, 1905, in the small village of Rautjärvi, Finland, Simo Häyhä grew up hunting in dense forests. From a young age, he honed his skills, patience, accuracy, and survival in the harshest conditions. These skills would later make him the deadliest sniper of the Winter War. By November 1939, the world was on the brink of war, and Finland found itself facing the might of the Soviet Union. The Red Army, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, sought to invade Finland and seize territory near Leningrad. Finland, by contrast, had a small, poorly equipped army with soldiers trained to fight in their harsh winters. The dense forests, frozen lakes, and biting cold became both a shield and a weapon. Finnish commanders knew they couldn't win a traditional battle. Instead, they relied on guerrilla tactics, small unit maneuvers, and the deadly precision of their marksmen, men like Simo Häyhä. In these frozen forests, a single sniper could halt the advance of entire Soviet units, changing the course of the conflict. In early 1940, the Soviets launched a major offensive aimed at breaking through the Finnish front lines. Thousands of troops moved across snow-laden forests, unaware that one man could bring their advance to a crawl. That man was Simo Häyhä, armed with nothing more than a standard Mosin Nagant rifle with iron sights, his keen eyes, and unparalleled patience. Häyhä was stationed along a key approach used by the Soviets. From his concealed position, he observed enemy patrols, memorized their movements, and chose his targets carefully. He didn't fire indiscriminately. Every shot counted. The Soviets, losing soldiers in the hundreds, were forced to slow down, sending reconnaissance parties ahead and constantly changing formations to avoid ambush. Each day, Häyhä would select key targets: officers, machine gun crews, and advancing patrols. His precision was unmatched. In just 100 days of combat, he is credited with over 500 confirmed kills, more than most entire units. But it wasn't just the numbers. It was the strategic effect. Soviet troops, unaware of the sniper's exact location, were forced to slow their advance, reorganize units, and proceed with extreme caution. Entire offensives were delayed because commanders feared exposing soldiers to an unseen threat. A single man in the frozen Finnish forest had become a force multiplier, the White Death. Häyhä's patience and discipline were extraordinary. He would remain motionless for hours, sometimes even days, as snow accumulated over his camouflage. Every shot was carefully calculated to maximize effect, minimize risk, and instill fear in the enemy. Häyhä's actions did more than frighten soldiers. They reshaped the battlefield. Each carefully calculated shot delayed Soviet units, forcing them to halt, regroup, and rethink their strategies. Where they expected a clear path through the forest, they now faced uncertainty, a constant threat that slowed their progress day after day. The offensive that was meant to break Finnish lines in days dragged on for weeks. Supply lines were disrupted. Troop formations had to stretch thinner to cover potential danger zones. What should have been a rapid advance turned into a cautious crawl through enemy territory. It is said that some Soviet commanders began to treat Häyhä almost as if he were a small army in himself. His presence required tactical adjustments that no single sniper should have been able to force. The forests of Finland had become a deadly chessboard, and Häyhä's patience and skill allowed him to play each move with devastating effect. One man, hidden in the snow, had created delays that saved lives, bought time, and kept an entire army guessing. For a small nation facing a massive army, the actions of one man created a ripple effect. Soviet troops moved more cautiously, morale dropped, and plans were postponed. The forests of Finland had become a lethal chessboard, and Simo Häyhä was the master tactician hiding in plain sight. But even the White Death could not escape the dangers of the front forever. In March 1940, during a tense encounter with advancing Soviet troops, Häyhä was struck in the jaw by a bullet. The wound was severe, ending his career as a frontline sniper. Yet by this time, the damage he had inflicted was undeniable. The Soviet advance in his sector had been delayed, units had been broken, morale shaken, and the legend of the White Death firmly established. Häyhä survived, enduring the pain and the hardships of recovery, but his mark on history was already sealed. He had demonstrated that precision, patience, and understanding of the terrain could allow a single soldier to influence the course of a battle. Soldiers and commanders on both sides would remember him, not merely as a sniper, but as a tactical force, a ghost in the snow who could halt an army with nothing but his skill and courage. After the Winter War, Simo Häyhä returned home to a quiet life on his family farm. Despite his legendary status, he remained humble, avoiding fame and attention. He tended his land, hunted, and lived among his fellow villagers, a man who had once struck fear into a massive army, now enjoying the simple rhythms of peace. Even as historians and enthusiasts later celebrated his remarkable feats, Häyhä himself rarely spoke of the battles or the hundreds of lives he had ended. For him, the war was a duty, a test of skill, patience, and endurance, not a trophy to display. Simo Häyhä's legacy is measured not only in numbers, but in the impact he had on history. One man, operating in the frozen forests of Finland, delayed an entire Soviet offensive. His patience, cunning, and courage became the stuff of legend. Soldiers, commanders, and historians alike recognized his unique role. A man whose skill could change the outcome of a battle, whose presence alone struck fear into the enemy. Häyhä reminds us that in war, sometimes the quietest, most disciplined individuals leave the most profound mark. His story is a testament to the power of human skill, determination, and the ability of one person to influence events far greater than themselves. Simo Häyhä lived a long and full life, passing away peacefully on April 1st, 2002, at the age of 96. The White Death became a legend, not for glory or fame, but for courage, skill, and an unwavering sense of duty. His story endures, a reminder of the extraordinary power of one individual to leave a lasting mark on history.